And with that familiar intro, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. Hi, I'm BK, and as usual, my co-host, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone. How are we today?
We are good. We just finished two sessions of Q&As, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
We delved deep into the three most commonly asked questions that we've been receiving of late. Yes.
And we're happy to do more. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. Whether you're watching us live, you can type live and then you can ask your question. And if we can get to them within the show, we will try to. And of course, we will try
Yep.
and do them in the next episode as well if there are any pressing questions that you might have.
Yes, and that's what we love is the question side of it. But we've got an interesting one today, BK. I'm going to look at how to focus your attention to achieve your goals, no matter what your goals may be in your network marketing company, or whether you're listening here and you're not a network marketer, but you like what we're actually talking about because it relates to everything, whether it be to your own business, whether it be to even to get a new relationship, or if you're finding relationships are not where you want it to be, or even your health, no matter what it be, the principles that we're actually talking about here are universal. They are totally universal. But in specifically from a marketing point of view, today is about how to focus your attention to achieve results. And as BK mentioned, last two episodes we looked at three questions. The first session was about how do I move forward when I feel overwhelmed. The second question was, I know I need a plan B in this weird economy that's happening at present, but I'm unsure if I want to be a network marketer or if network marketing is for me. And we went deep into those two questions a couple of episodes ago. And we actually spent a whole session on how do I find a network marketing company that resonates with who I am. And we delved deep into that one, didn't we, BK? And we explored all different types of avenues and ways that you can find to allow you to feel if network marketing resonates with you, even if you're wanting to come into it for the first time, or you've found yourself in a company where you might want to move, or you just really want to do a plan B and you want to find something that's going to resonate with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are things that, in fact, like what Dr. Wayne just pointed at just now, right? A lot of things are, number one, we have always been saying that, network marketing is a business. And so everything that is applicable to a business, the kind of challenges and problems and solutions would also be applicable in the field of network marketing, right? And therefore, some of those pressing questions were some of the things that we kind of touched on the last 2 weeks. Of course, the other thing is in this current um, conditions we are in, or for everyone in the world, right? Definitely plan B is nice. You might even want to have a plan C. And I was just
Yes.
telling a lot of friends, I was just joking with some friends that what was my plan B is now my plan A, so I have to find another plan B.
And sometimes plan B can be actually what we're talking about today, because you can have a plan A that's working for you, say network marketing is working for you at a certain level. And once you can embrace some of the things that we'll be talking through here, your plan B is literally self development. So, as we know, BK, the more that we can self-develop with who we are as people, we can self-develop in technology, we can self-develop on platforms, we can self-develop in so many different ways. And sometimes when we're in an industry that we love, network marketing, and as we've said many times before, we believe this is the cleanest industry you can be in when you have a strong ethos and an unbelievable disruptive product. It just makes things so much easier for you. So yeah, it's plan B can be self-development, which is quite interesting as well. And just for those people who may be newly listening to us, this podcast is all about Here are the burning questions that we believe is on everyone network marketing's lips, and we can actually now qualify that to be even any business owner's lips, who are. So the three questions are: why are others doing so well and I feel stuck? The second question is around, why are others building their network marketing business easily without bugging their family, friends, and loved ones? And the third question that's often asked is, and why are other people's teams actively recruiting like roaring lions? We use that analogy. And my team seems to be asleep like sloths. So these are the burning questions, and BK and I will give you the answers through this podcast. And as mentioned, this particular podcast is how to focus your attention to achieve your goals. So the first thing I really want to understand, to go through, is understanding frequency. And frequency, for those people who have been listening to us prior, or for newbies, frequency is the third law of our 7 universal laws. And the third law is around the law of vibration. And it is immutable, which means it can't be changed, but we can work with it. And the third of the 7 universal laws basically tells us that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. So nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. And this particular universal law is around about vibration. And science has confirmed that everything in the universe, including you, is pure energy vibrating at different frequencies. And remembering frequencies is what information goes along, or where information is held. So think of it like the frequency, and we use this analogy a lot, don't we, BK, with regards to the radio or a device you may be listening to. If you're 92.5 on the dial and you need to be on 95.7 on the dial, you'll get a hissing, a buzzing, an awareness that you're close, but you're still not receiving the message because the frequency is not exactly correct. So this is really important to grasp and to understand about frequencies. So as we've kind of said just before, everything on this planet, including animals and plants, even water, basically emits a frequency. And there's a lot of research that have been done on water, for example, where if you actually put the words like gratitude and love and compassion, you actually change the frequency that looks like when you are able to view it under a microscope, water under a microscope, the frequency that you're viewing may look like a barnacled tortoiseshell, for example. And that's the frequency of water when it is unhealthy. And that frequency of water when it's unhealthy is due to the pollutants, the chemicals, etc. But if you get that same water and then you put it into a container and then you put the words love and compassion and gratitude around it on the outside, you actually find that the water, when you get it underneath a high-powered microscope, looks like the crystals of a snowflake. It totally changes its energetic pattern, which is incredible. And this is the frequency that now is produced by water that now has a different way that it affects our health. So imagine a barnacled encrusted water molecule. What is that going to do to our health? And we know that water can carry parasites and bugs and germs and critters, and especially if it's like a barnacle encrusted molecule, it can do that quite easily. But if it's like a snowflake that now is giving gratitude and love and warmth and vibration that is of a totally different positive frequency, it is emitting a different energy into our being, and therefore basically will help our overall health. And remembering from there, we've spoken about this many times before as well, the frequency as we take in water that is now a snowflake that is giving a different vibration of gratitude and love will now epigenetically change the way that our genes will actually react due to that. So if this is a barnacle encrusted, now we end up with a barnacle encrusted genetic expression, which now might actually create ill health. But if it's love and compassion and joy and happiness that is entering our body by a frequency that is carried with water that is totally different, that now will express itself genetically or epigenetically, in a way that now promotes health, I know which one we would prefer. And the main theme I really want to get back to here is all we've done is changed something. We've basically just put the words gratitude, love, etc. on the outside of the water container. So we can actually do that even with our thought. We can do that by the way we think. If we're over water, we're about to drink some water. If we do the same thing with thought, that's a frequency. It holds an energy, it holds a vibration, and it holds information. And if we can then do that in a way that allows the water to change its frequency to a positive, we can also express genetically, epigenetically positive responses. It's quite fascinating, isn't it, BK?
It is, it is. And for the layman out there, I'm the layperson as well, right? Uh, Frequency is actually vibrations, right? So when something moves, so frequency is how fast the thing moves. So for example, this is a frequency of like maybe 10 times per second. But when I move it very fast, then it is at it could be a few thousand, even a few tens of thousands times per second, right? So that is the thing. And I love how our language actually builds in some of these concepts. For example, the word vibe. The word vibe comes from vibrations, right? So we hear things like, "Oh, he's not giving me very good vibes." What does that
How
mean,
true, yeah.
right? He's
Yeah.
not giving. I'm not getting very good vibes from this place. So you kind of understand that in our language, we actually already have taken into account some of these principles of the universe, because we get these kind of feelings, like for example, you go to a certain place, sometimes I'm not sure whether you felt this before. You go to a certain house and you just kind of feel a little bit uneasy. You kind of don't really like the place, and you feel that, I don't really do very well in this room, right? And it's just not, the vibration is just not right with you. But if you can go and you go to another house, for example, if let's say you're hunting, right? You're house hunting. You go to another house and you suddenly feel that, hey, I just love how I feel in this place, right? Why is that the case, right? So because the universe and everything around us, including ourselves, we're just made out of vibrations. We're just made out of things that vibrate together. And like what Dr. Wen was saying just now, it's so fascinating because scientists have done experiments where if there was a certain chemical inside the water, right? And water is such an amazing container, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
even if there was just a little bit of the chemical and then you've taken out most of it, right? The water retains the memory of that chemical.
Yes.
And they've done scientific experiments that prove that, right? So, and there was another one I saw recently that was equally fascinating. I'm not sure whether Doc you've seen this before, whereby they connected two glasses of water with I think some copper coil or something like that, right? And then they put one chemical in one glass and not the other, but the properties of that was then transmuted to the other one as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
those are the things that uh, you know we might not read about every day, but when you read about it, it's like, this is fascinating, right? This is how the world works. This is because the whole world is just frequency. Everyone is just a frequency, right? And that's why we have all these very fascinating things, and it's possible, right? It's very possible.
And just taking that a little bit further, BK, guess what we mainly are? 70% water on average. And the interesting thing with the human being, as we get older, that water actually then goes down to 50, 55%. So why is this important? Because water holds flexibility as well. The more fluid we are, the more fluid we are in movement. As we get older, that fluid then can decrease, and then we become more rigid. Movement becomes a lot less. We can't do the things we want. And as BK mentioned, that the water holds frequency. And getting back to what BK said about the house, we can then feel that even within people. And the interesting thing about people is we hold certain frequencies that will then have certain knowledge on those frequencies. So, for example, if someone smokes, for example, you generally will find that you'll actually come across a whole lot of other people that smoke. You find that your friends smoke. For example, I've never smoked, and I look at all my friends and they don't smoke. So the same as when you look at pheromones with regards to dating, for example, these are all frequencies. And you may go out on a date and you go, oh, not sure about that one, as BK said before. And then you go out with someone else, oh, this feels a little bit better, because what's happening is you're matching these frequencies, these energy pulses. So say, for example, someone has, and I'll just be really negative here, but if someone has a moral code of wanting to hurt people and is really destructive and angry and frustrated and that type of thing, and you come in and you're basically someone who is compassionate, understanding and love, and when you come and meet this person, there'll be a frequency that is not aligned, because in you, remembering you're 70% water on average, depending upon your age, as mentioned, but on average we're 70% water, that basically holds those frequencies of compassion, empathy, love, happiness and joy. And this person here holds the frequencies of the other negative aspects that we just spoke about. So now what happens is you come into contact with this people and you just basically, like magnets, two north poles, and you repel each other. But say, for example, this person over here that's the negative now comes across a person who has the same moral type of codes that may not be positive. What they end up doing now is attract that person to each other. The same as, people will say, for example, that I can't afford X, Y, or Z. Their budget is limited because of things that have happened in their life. And what will happen is those people will actually attract the same type of people who have budget constraints. And this goes on and on and on. And it's interesting, BK, we started off with this conversation around water, which now allowed it to expand, because that's what the interesting thing with water as well. It wants to it's expansion. You think of the ocean, it just wants to basically be. And the more that we can, within ourselves, 70% water, and the interesting thing with the mitochondria, it requires salt water to produce certain types of molecules that are just unbelievable for health in our body. And out of hydrogen, oxygen, chloride, and H2, NaCl, hydrogen and oxygen. I had a mental block there for a sec. Salt water. So NaCl, hydrogen and oxygen. It gets those four molecules through the mitochondria, and it produces all these different types of molecules. And the mitochondria then, out of food and water, then creates the Krebs cycle. Out of the Krebs cycle, it then creates adenosine triphosphate, which then allows us to be energetic. All from this one concept of whether we bring into our body pure water or we bring into our body not so pure water. And then from there, we can then influence that by our thoughts, which is pretty phenomenal indeed. Pretty interesting. So therefore we have choices. We have choices all the time on how to improve our frequency or how to deplete them. So, and what we want to do is all the time improve them. And remembering, just to go through this again, every tissue, cell, organ, emotion, thought, whatever it is in our inner being has its own unique electromagnetic field or its own frequency. So do allergens, viruses, bacteria, fungi, candida, etc. all have certain types of frequencies as well. And think of frequencies as a language. And for example, the liver has over 900 frequencies. The kidney have over 1,000 frequencies. And the interesting thing with the kidney in all ancient medicine, the kidney is the most revered organ. If the kidney becomes dysfunctional, it can create all different types of challenges. And guess what its major function is? Looking after water in our body. And if the kidney basically shuts down, what can happen then? We basically fill up with water and we drown internally. just because the frequency of the kidney is not at its ideal frequency. And remembering the ideal frequency of any organ is determined by our thoughts. And we've said this many times before that 90% of who we are is pre programmed, 95% of who we are is pre programmed prior to the age of 7, and 80 to 90% of what we think about is we think about the past, and it's typically of the negative aspect. And a lot of people will say, no, I don't think that way. That's not who I am. But the only way you can actually find out is by asking the question every now and again to yourself. And I do this to myself daily, and I'm amazed at what I'm thinking about, even though I would say that I try and think positive as much as I can. The subconscious thoughts still come through, and you go, wow, that was an interesting thought. Where did that come from? And these messages that we don't actually catch due to our subconscious programming then actually creates our future, which is in one way positive when you understand it, but it can be quite destructive if we don't improve it, if we don't know it. And this is what I meant by we can improve our frequency or we can deplete them. So how do we improve them? What we do is we choose what we think about, and we do it as often as we can. So, look at your thoughts. That's step number one. Really look at who you are. And the best time to look at who you are in terms of positive thoughts is as you wake in the morning. So what do a lot of people do when they wake up in the morning? Unfortunately, today, the first thing they do is they'll grab their phone and see who's messaged them or got in contact with them. Or the first thing you'll do is get up and basically, and this is apart from doing your normal things that you might have to do when you wake up, but we might engage in conversation, or we might engage in going to an email or looking at email or that type of stuff. One of the best things you can do in the morning is just sit still, especially as you're waking. As you're waking, first of all, that sort of that grey area when you're basically going, your brain waves are changing. If you can really look at what you're thinking at that particular time and allow your brain to then become thankful for all the different things that you want to happen during the day, you can change the reality of what your day may have looked like. So say, for example, that you, and remembering what we're talking about here is frequency. So remembering, just reiterating this, the more that we can have a positive frequency, the more that our day, the more that we can achieve our goals, the more that we can rank advance, the more things become easier and easier. So if we can allow our subconscious thoughts and our conscious thoughts to align during that time of wakefulness, that's when they are aligned at their closest. And if we then pre-frame our future day in a positive way, that's literally what our day can end up like. However, if we now go into Facebook, or if we go into emails, or if we go into the woes of the day, typically what you'll be reading is the negative aspects. Sometimes, of course, it may be positive, but we're judging that positive against ourselves. So say, for example, you're reading a Facebook post that is seemingly positive, but what happens to the subconscious, it'll be actually judging that it'll be judging that post, even though you don't know it. And what happens now is subconsciously you'll be emitting different frequencies that are now can enable your day to be of a negative rather than a positive. So one of the first things to do is in that gray zone, I'll encourage the mind to be thankful in gratitude of what your day looks like. And then as you then wake up, allow your first 10 minutes just to sit and be, and then once again intend what your day is going to be like in a more conscious zone as well. But a lot of us, unfortunately, BK, we get into the trap of looking at our social media and et cetera, as well.
I guess the odds are stacked against us sometimes. If you don't make a conscious decision, right?
Yeah.
I made a conscious decision many, many years ago to stop reading the news
Yeah.
or stop watching the news. I kind of made a decision not to do that because uh, we all know, right? It's bad news sells more than good news. So half the time
Yeah.
when you watch the news or listen to the news, it's always bad news. If you think about, like most of us these days, we are in multiple chat groups with friends and family and schoolmates and colleagues and so on. And if you look at the behavior in the group, you notice that a lot of times bad news is being transmitted into the group. And you also notice
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a mix. There's bad, mostly bad, and then some good. But you notice that there's the bad news that gets the most reaction from people, right?
Yes.
It's the bad news that gets the most reaction from people. Whereas if you share something positive, sometimes you don't get the same reaction. So the odds are stacked against us. And so you have to kind of, like what Dr. Wayne just said, you have to make a conscious decision to tell yourself that, hey, maybe you want to help to stack the odds against for yourself, right? That means improve the odds, right? So number one, these are some of the things I would do. I would stop reading the papers and the news and so on. In fact, sometimes people say, but then won't you get the important stuff? I said, no, I don't have to worry about that. If it's important enough, it gets filtered to me by friends.
That's right.
If I need to know something, I honestly know that our friends would tell us, right? If it's important enough, you will know about it. Don't worry about that. That's for sure, right?
Exactly.
And also,
You get that chat. You get that chat through Facebook or through WhatsApp
yeah,
or
yeah,
WeChat
for
or
sure,
something.
yeah. If it's important enough, and also, as Dr. Wayne was just sharing just now about how to start your day, right? I kind of suddenly remember, if you read the biography or the stories of a lot of high performance, high achieving individuals like CEOs and sports people and maybe like successful people, you will realize that a lot of times they start their day very early. Some of them like five. That's why there's a book called the 5 a.m. Club, right? You start your day at 5 a.m. in the morning. And all of a sudden, because Dr. Wim was just talking about how most of us start the day by looking at our cell phone and so on and seeing what people have sent you emails and so on. I think there's a reason why you want to start your day at 5 a.m. because nobody else would do that. And therefore
Exactly.
you won't get all kinds of negative messages or Facebook posts or emails from people because they're still asleep. And therefore you can really help yourself start the day right because at 5 a.m. it's so quiet. Most of the world is asleep, and you can really focus. You can really start the
Yes.
day with intention, with knowing what you want to do. So that's part of I guess that's one of the perks of waking up so early because the world is still asleep. You are probably one of the very few people, being able to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? So that's just I think that's just something that just occurred to me as a side benefit. If you wake up that early, you're not going to be distracted by the world because the world is asleep.
But people still do when they wake up that early, unfortunately. So if we can change that, that'll be fantastic. And there's an old saying from ancient medicine that says something like, if you want true health, great health to always be by your side, never miss a sunrise. And one of the best times to meditate or to sit still is when the sun is coming up for those people who wish to be awake. And it is a great time, as BK mentioned. So just to highlight these frequencies and what they mean, because at this particular time it might be a little bit abstract. So this is how the mind communicates to the body, and this is via frequencies. And to put it in a traditional Chinese medicine way, for those people who might be acupuncturist or traditional Chinese medicine orientated, you'll understand what I'm about to say. From a traditional Chinese medicine process, the liver is the general of all emotions. So if emotion comes in, for example, of extreme fear, okay, so what the general will do, the liver, it'll go, okay, you're a fear emotion. Where can I send you that's going to be the least damaging? And it might go, okay, I'm going to send you to the connective tissue. And where can I send that to? So it might now send it to the calf, for example, because that's a kidney zone that I can put it quite easily. But say, for example, the calf now is full of these emotions of fear because you live in panic and you live in anxiety and fear, for example. So it'll go, oh, I can't put it in the calf and I can't put it in the other muscles. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it into the lower back area. So now you can actually feel more lower back pain. And for example, if now that person gets lower back pain and those frequencies in the lower back are now having challenges, meaning that it's full. So the frequencies have come in, the general is now gone, the calf is full, all the other connective tissue and the muscles are full. I've gone to the back, I can't go there. Oh, now what I'm going to do now is go to the brain because the kidney looks after the brain as well. And now you can notice brain fog and you can notice lack of focus, overwhelm, just all different types of memory challenges can develop as well. So this is what I mean by the body and the mind communicating via frequencies. And this has been expressed in ancient medicine philosophies for thousands and thousands of years. And it's really impressive because now in Western medicine, now we can actually measure these frequencies because we now have different types of technology that can do it. For example, we're talking about the brain. The brain frequency is around 72 to 90 megahertz. And the normal brain frequency is around about 72. The human health is between 62 and 72 megahertz. For example, good food is usually fresh food is between 20 to 27 hertz. Dried food goes down to 15 to 22 hertz, whereas anything that's processed or canned, you think of the amount of people that eat high processed and canned food these days, the amount of energy that's in there by frequency is zero. So think of your canned tuna or your processed Fruit Loops or your whatever cereal may be getting, zero frequencies. So quite interesting in terms of these frequencies. And cancer begins below 42 hertz. So remembering health frequency was around the 62 to 72 megahertz. And you've got then things like colds and flus start at 57 to 60. Disease starts at 58. So cancer starts at below 40 or 42 or below, and death begins at about 25. So now with science, we're actually able to literally know what these frequencies are. And therefore, when we know what they are, then we can actually help our being to actually change that as well. So, for example, a manifestation mindset is around about 500 hertz. So that's the frequency of manifestation. And every thought has a different frequency as well. So I really want you to grasp this concept of frequency and how important it is to us. Okay, so just to probably complete this now, BK, I just want to go through 8 different ways we can now go back to, well, like in terms of what we need to do, looking at our very first thing that we came on board with is how to focus your attention to achieve your goals. So what things can we now do? And I'll put it down into 8. And we've gone through some of these, and I'd like to go through them one at a time. So the first thing that I'd like to suggest you do is listen to your thoughts. And when you every now and again ask yourself, what am I thinking about? You'll be amazed at what you are thinking about. And remembering our thoughts of reason, love, peace and joy, manifestation, etc. is around about between 400 to 600 hertz. The lower vibrations of fear in that vibrate around about 50 to 60 hertz. So whenever you feel these lower vibrations, remembering, one, it's bringing down your frequencies, but then what happens is the liver now looks at it and goes, I've got to try and put this frequency because it's destructive into an area that's not going to do as much destruction. But what happens, because of areas filling up with these negative frequencies, it then keeps on impacting different areas of our body. And this is where ancient medicine has always said the cause to all disharmony, the cause to all disease, the cause to anything that goes wrong in your body, the cause to why you're not achieving your goals in network marketing is the mistake of the intellect. And that mistake, whether it be what type of emotion it may be, has a frequency. So, number one is to listen to your thoughts. Number two is the art of happiness really does lie in self awareness and the ability to listen closely to your own thoughts. So, it's basically backing up number one, but I've separated it because it has to become an art. It has to become a routine. As BK said before, do things that are actionable, and you have to keep on actioning it. So this is more about the action. The first one is the understanding. This one is more in action. And as mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time, and I still ask that question: what am I thinking about? Then I go, that's interesting. And more times than not these days, I'll go, what am I thinking about? I go, that's pretty impressive. That's nice. We gave number three is around giving thanks to anything that you're putting into your mouth. We talked about that in terms of water, giving positive thoughts. And if you can do that around your food, it will therefore send a vibration through to your food that will now be uplifting to your genetic expression. Breathing deep, because when you breathe in deep into the lungs, it also adds to this water content and helps to purify water that's in our body as well. But also breathing deeply helps with alkalinity. I haven't spoken about this yet, but alkalinity also helps with our frequency. The more alkaline we are, the easier it is to have happy thoughts, easier it is to have thoughts that are positive. The more acidic we are, the more the negative thoughts tend to come towards us. Number five is do something that you love. And, that might be once every few days, take a spa, have a bath and have magnesium in your bath, for example. It might be walking along the beach. It might be meditating. It might be going to the gym. It might be reading a book, whatever it may be. It might be laughing out loud with friends. Do something that you love. Number six, which we talk a lot about, is meditation, especially in that gray zone as we're waking up, and then do a purposeful meditation without looking at your cell phone, without looking at anything, emails, without even talking to people other than maybe if you have a partner, good morning, etc. How do you sleep? Then go into your meditation. And number seven is around focus intention. So what can you do every day to allow your day to have a better day? So, for example, every time I come into the clinic, I have something that I read, that I go through to preset my day. And then what I'll do then is I'll write down what I would like my day to be like. So it might be, I'm thankful for, in love, thank you for, in gratitude, thank you for the day that I'm about to have, and put that into all different words for yourself as well. And number eight, which is really important, which I haven't spoken about until now, is to really have deep sleep. So make sure that you have good sleep, at least 7 to 8 hours, because if you're not sleeping before 9:30 to 10 o'clock at night, you're not having good night's sleep at all. You're not giving your body that restoration sleep, and you're not giving your body the healing ability that it actually needs. And for those people who don't know, for every one bad night's sleep you have, your immune system now falters by 50% for the next 4 days. So sleep is so important as well. So just going through them again: one is listen to your thoughts. Two is make sure it becomes a habit, that is activating your thoughts, or listen to your thoughts. Number three is giving thanks to your food. 4 is breathe deeply. 5 is do something that you love. 6 is meditate. 7 is focused intention. And number 8 is have deep sleep. And by doing that, this is how you can focus your attention to achieve your goals.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Wayne, for such a comprehensive list of things to do. And these are the things that we can, some of them are easy to do. And I know some of them are simple things, but they might be a little bit challenging to do. For example, like meditation is probably touted as one of the best things you can do for yourself, but it can be tough going, right? And I think we have we have done an episode on that before, right? So nicely wrapped up. If you want to catch us on some of our previous episodes, and perhaps even search for that episode, I'll try and remember which episode that was, but you can find it by searching, right? Or you could also just check out the full program we have about the universal laws at this particular website, which is at the numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com. That's the numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com. And of course, as mentioned, if you want to check out our previous episodes, please do look us up at networkmarketerpodcast.com. That will be at networkmarketerpodcast.com.
Excellent. Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone. It was great going through this today. I really get motivated when we go through this. It's just so inspiring for people.
So we will see you next week for another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. And once again, we welcome your questions, and we're happy to dive into them if you have any questions that are of pressing concern for you in your business, whether it's related to network marketing or not. Because as we have come to discover, right, it is. Sometimes it's just business, right? It's just business, and you might have other things that you want to find out more about.
Yes, very true. Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone.
See you next week, Doc.
Yeah, will do.